to Life on Earth. Welcome to Life on Earth.
Probably should have played the Christmas Carol instead, but I'm just not that good a singer.
Welcome to Life on Earth.
Welcome to Life on Earth. Thank you, folks, for joining us for our super special early Christmas episode.
Yay, early Christmas.
We've got to talk about this. This won't be the last we have to say about Christmas, but it's going to be a quick episode. So what I need you to do is listen fast, because I'm going to go fast. We're going to probably keep this under half an hour. No Clubhouse tonight. So get your feedback in on the chat. You can talk to us in the YouTube chat. You can even super chat, hit the $, send some money to the Ayn Rand Center UK. Link will be posted for that as well. If you're not already a member, how to sign up. This is Life on Earth. As you know, we talk about life on Earth and applying objectivist philosophy, Ayn Rand's philosophy, reason to life on Earth. And Christmas is coming.
It is. It's almost here. Santa's on his way.
In which we celebrate the birth of the baby savior dude thing.
Many different deities.
Many different deities.
Born of virgins.
Well, we just had Hanukkah, and we have, I don't even know, Kwanzaa or.
Well, we're going to have Sol Invictus coming up.
That's right. You know, I'm not intending to tweak our Christian friends. Celebrate whatever you believe, but the question is there a place for a rational Christmas? Well, I've got gifts, I've got presents, I've got stuff you're actually going to want, not just a bunch of links that you'll never look at, but this is good stuff. I'm going to quote from a few of them, but I'm going to jump to the very end of the list. You're going to see a link to The Guardian and an article, Why Christmas is for Everyone. Well, I don't know if Christmas is for everyone, but it sure as hell is for you.
It sure as Krampus is for us.
Well, yes. Ayn Rand was asked. Ayn Rand was asked many times about religious holidays and such things, but she was asked in the Ayn Rand letter, in the Objectivist calendar that she was running at the time. This came after the Objectivist newsletter and after the Objectivist. And she was asked about, well, is it reasonable or rational for objectivists to celebrate Christmas? In fact, they asked, is it appropriate for an atheist to celebrate Christmas? And Ayn Rand answered thusly. Ayn Rand said, yes, of course. A national holiday in this country cannot have an exclusively religious meaning. The secular meaning of the Christmas holiday is wider than the tenets of any particular religion. It is goodwill toward men, a frame of mind that is not the exclusive property, though it is supposed to be part, but is a largely unobserved part of the Christian religion. The charming aspect of Christmas is the fact that it expresses goodwill in a cheerful, happy, benevolent, non-sacrificial way. One says, Merry Christmas, not weep and repent. And the goodwill is expressed in a material, earthly form, by giving presents to one's friends, or by sending them cards in token of remembrance. Mm-hmm. The best aspect of Christmas is the aspect usually decried by the mystics, the fact that Christmas has been commercialized. The gift buying. It stimulates an enormous outpouring of ingenuity in the creation of products devoted to a single purpose, to give men pleasure. And the street decorations put up by department stores and other institutions, the Christmas trees, the winking lights, the glittering colors provide the city with a spectacular display, which only, quote, commercial greed, unquote, could afford to give us. One would have to be terribly depressed to resist the wonderful gaiety of that spectacle, unquote, Ayn Rand, from the Objectivist calendar of December of 1976. I've heard people read that quote before and focus on the kind of veiled Christianity bashing and the weep and repent part, but I intentionally read it with a focus on the positive. And what I really want to think about here is the Christmas holiday is wider than the tenets of any particular religion. It is goodwill toward men.
Mm. And peace on earth, or perhaps productivity on earth, or productiveness.
Goodwill toward men. So think about what that means for you, what that means in your life. What does it mean to show goodwill? Because I have seen the memes that say goodwill to men who deserve it.
Wah, wah.
Somehow they managed to get that tone of voice in the meme, and you can see it. There are cartoonists who've written such memes, and you can see that tone of voice in it. But rather than go on a rant about that, I'm going to postpone the rant for a moment because I also want to read from Peter Schwartz.
All right.
Who also writes about Christmas. And he says, well, what about outright charity? The Salvation Army bell ringers are out in force at this time of year, and each day the mail brings requests for donations. I have no objection to charity, as long as it isn't viewed as an altruistic duty and isn't a central issue in one's life. As Ayn Rand put it, this is Peter Schwartz' article, link will be in the show notes. It is morally proper to accept help when it is offered, not as a moral duty, but as an act of goodwill and generosity when the giver can afford it, i.e. when it does not involve self-sacrifice on his part, and when it is offered in response to the receiver's virtues, not in response to his flaws, weaknesses, or moral failures, and not on the ground of his need as such. And then Mr. Schwartz goes on, I donate to certain charities when the recipients, as judged by my standards, are worthy of help. For example, when someone I know was diagnosed with cancer and couldn't cover the costs of treatment, I willingly contributed. But again, charity should be a gift, generously given, not a debt dutifully paid. You have no obligation to make yourself suffer so that someone else might benefit. From Peter Schwartz. And I agree wholeheartedly. We got another super chat. We got a few super chats going on. I'm feeling the generosity of Christmas. Of course, this all goes to the Ayn Rand Center UK. And
they must deem that the Ayn Rand Center UK is worthy of their support.
Worthy of their goodwill.
Yeah, in a selfish way. It's selfish to them to support them. So
magnificent. Well, Action Jackson, who is a staunch supporter of the R.N. Brooks show. So it's great to see him here on the Ayn Rand Center UK channel and helping us out, or helping the Institute out too. Came in with $5 and said, love these shows, keep them coming. Now, I would like to think he's talking about Life on Earth with Robert and Amy Nasir, but I'm guessing he means, and he should, the whole roster of Ayn Rand Center UK shows. Outstanding. Thank you for that very much. And then, of course, the doyen of ARC UK, Mary Aline, is in for $2 and says, the world needs more fruitcake. The world needs more fruit. I don't know. Is she saying like we are fruitcakes, or
no,
or is she just being charming about the holiday?
The world needs more like homemade fruitcakes where you basically infuse it with a whole bunch of rum and it's really delicious, and it's not like those store-bought kinds. So
she really means that the world needs more fruitcake, and not that we're a couple of fruitcakes that the world needs more of,
or both.
I'm good with that either way. And Apollo Zeus, the man, A to Z, is in for £5 and says, hi, Amy. Hi, Robert. Hello. And thank you. Thank you for being part of the fundraising there.
He says, yes, what a miserable holiday it would be without the commercialization.
Yes.
Yes. Without the capitalism, without the creativity, without the production, without the effort, without the work, without the engagement of reality.
Weep and repent.
I know.
The Savior has come to save you from yourself. Thank you, but I don't need saving right now.
It's like, let me convince you that you have original sin. You did something wrong that you didn't actually have anything to do with.
I don't think there's any original sins left. I think we're all copycatting. Wouldn't it be great if there were still some original sins to be found? And one more article, two more philosophers I need to quote from. What we did Ayn Rand, we did Peter Schwartz. I'm going to jump right to Leonard Peikoff, who wrote the original Why Christmas Should Be More Commercial, published back in the 2000s. An oldie but goodie, just a couple of paragraphs from that. The opening paragraph, Christmas in America is an exuberant display of human ingenuity, capitalist productivity, and the enjoyment of life. Yet all of these are castigated as materialistic. The real meaning of the holiday, we are told, is assorted nativity tales and altruist injunctions, e.g. love thy neighbor.
I thought you said sordid nativity tales.
Sordid nativity, assorted, but I could go with these sordid nativity tales because there's a sordid story there. We have the virgin birth, which there are explanations for why that might have happened, and none of them are as presented.
Joseph is a trusting soul.
He is a trusting soul. Stand by your woman.
Even though she says she's pregnant from a deity.
Hey, who am I to know? The real meaning of the holiday, we are told, is assorted. That's a problem. I'm using that American D, assorted nativity tales and altruist injunctions, for example, love thy neighbor, that no one takes seriously. I mean, seriously, do any of you take that seriously? Okay, back to Peikoff. In fact, Christmas as we celebrate it today is a 19th century American invention. The freedom and prosperity of post-Civil War America created the happiest nation in history. The result was a desire to celebrate, to revel in the goods and pleasures of life on earth. Life on earth. Welcome. Christmas, which was not a federal holiday until 1870, became the leading American outlet for this feeling. Historically, people have always celebrated the winter solstice as the time when the days begin to lengthen.
That's true.
Indicating the Earth's return to life. Ancient Romans feasted and reveled during the festival of Saturnalia. Now, Dr. Peikoff goes on, link is in the show notes, although that's the easiest one to find. And we often read that at Christmas time.
Yes.
And he's absolutely right. And again, we get to this goodwill, as he says, shrouded in altruist injunctions, which no one takes seriously. The freedom and prosperity of post-Civil War America created the happiest nation in history. Now, there's some question whether we still experience the kind of goodwill that was experienced pre-World War I. And I know that Ayn Rand has suggested, and a lot of objectivists have suggested, that if you were never exposed to the pre-World I sense of life, that level of benevolence and goodwill toward men, then I think Leonard has said, it's unbelievable to those who weren't there. And I think it was Ayn Rand who told him that because he wasn't there.
Yeah, might I mention real quick that, Ayn Rand had her tiddlywink music that she listened to. And if you look up Radio Dismuke, Dismuke.
Dismuke.
You might be able to find some recordings of these, Get Out and Get Under, Canadian Capers, all sorts of things that Ayn Rand really loved that were pre-World War I, that were kind of reminiscent of that sort of sense of life that she's talking about. Very jaunty, very happy, very silly, just really lovely stuff.
Charming, as if people expected to be happy. In fact, Mary Aline is now in the super chat for another $5 and says, goodwill is, or should be, the default toward one's fellow men. Giving them things requires knowing more about each particular individual. Absolutely right. And that notion of goodwill toward men that Ayn Rand mentioned, that Peter Schwartz mentioned, that is suggested by Leonard Peikoff's article, I think is something that we as advocates of reason need to celebrate more.
Absolutely.
As I say, there are people who don't take as benevolent a view of the holidays, and not necessarily as benevolent a view of their fellow man. And I get it, because, and Mary Aline says, giving them things requires knowing more about each particular individual. You can't just give things and invite into your house every stranger you meet. And yet, we covered Ayn Rand, Leonard Peikoff, Peter Schwartz. I have one more philosopher to bring into the discussion, and that would be the philosopher Burl Ives, who says,
yes, I follow him religiously.
Yes, religiously. The philosopher Burl Ives, and I quote, have a holly jolly Christmas. And when you walk down the street, say hello to friends you know and everyone you meet.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Thank you, Burl Eyes. Amy and I did a whole episode of our other podcast, 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir, on goodwill. We also did one called Goodness Gracious on a related subject. And my point would be that, yes, goodwill is the default toward our fellow men, as Mary Aline says. And that is exactly the point that I would like to make. There was a meme about respect should be the default. And a whole bunch of people jumped on that and said, I don't respect anybody for anything unless they give me a reason to. And I think that whole long, unpleasant thread had false alternative written all over it.
I love false alternatives. They just,
Well,
no, I don't.
It's a combination of people who have been hurt by extending the presumption of goodwill, and people like all of us who have been hurt by a government that forces their version of what is not really goodwill. There are so many people forcing you into sacrifice. Came up in the Daily Objective today. In New Zealand, they're going to outlaw cigarettes. Well, what they're really going to do is they're going to phase them out so that within 40 years, nobody will be able to buy them. I think they're going to make it so nobody under 40 years old is allowed to buy them.
Wait, this is New Zealand. So I remember about 5 years ago, objectivists were talking about New Zealand as if it were the promised land.
Yep. Oh, yeah. The Kiwis were the last free people on earth. And now they're banning. And the point is that, yes, we have this paternalistic government that is trying to force us with shoehorns and crowbars into the good life. And that can make some people say, respect for your fellow man? Why would you respect your fellow man unless he's proven that he deserves it? Why would you have goodwill toward your fellow man unless he's shown you some reason to believe that he's not one of the looters? And what I love about Christmas is it's the one time of year when I think most people,
yes,
even if they've got that bit of a chip on their shoulder, and again, not without reason, let it go.
Right.
And realize that most people aren't rotten. Most people aren't out to get you.
Yeah, and that you're not going to be hurt when you try to reach out and value.
Yes.
If you want to love or trust or enjoy somebody, another person, you're not going to get hurt. And, you have to have that kind of level of trust with people and take that risk because it does pay off.
Yes. Yeah, Mary Aline, who's supporting the channel even more with a super chat, in for another $5 American, which they say aren't worth as much as pounds, but they're worth more than Canadian dollars. They're worth more than Mexican pesos. They're worth more than Australian. I'm telling you, because it's the Ayn Rand Center UK, they get their digs in. But thank you, Mary Aline. And she says, because I know she saw this thread, this one was on Facebook, that conversation was going nowhere because participants did not agree on the meaning of respect. That's true. If you have a conversation that's going nowhere, see if you can get people to agree on definitions. Sometimes just defining your terms resolves the whole conflict or the whole challenge or answers the original question. So Mary Aline is absolutely right about that. So besides wishing you all, everybody behind the scenes at the Ayn Rand Center UK, everybody in front of the scenes, does that even make sense? All of you good people out there trying to live your own best life on earth, I also want to give you two presents.
Oh, wait, okay. So now not only is Mary Aline Santa Claus for ARC UK today, with her wonderful super chats, but Robert, you have some presents? You're going to be Santa?
I do. And if I say my presents are links, people, links. The show notes thing that he always does. But this is different. This is different because the show links, the notes that I'm going to put, and I'll put them on Facebook and I'll link to them from Twitter, whatever your preferred social network is, you'll be able to get to them one way or another. But not only do I have links to why Christmas should be more commercial and Ayn Rand's answer to Christmas and Peter Schwartz's article on Christmas, but and some of you have seen some of these, but I'm guessing most of you have not seen all of them. There are essays and articles and presentations on Ayn Rand celebrating Christmas. So the Ayn Rand Institute has the essay they released a couple of years ago from the Ayn Rand archives showing some of the Christmas cards that Ayn Rand and Frank O'Connor gave out during Christmas. gave to each other during Christmas, received from other people during Christmas. There's a whole essay on that from the archives. There, ARI, holiday-themed artifacts from Ayn Rand's personal collection. There's a couple of good Yaron Brook shows, one on giving thanks, which is recent. It's always good to hear Yaron at his most optimistic. When he is at his most optimistic, he can outdo me at optimism, even though he has said he's not as optimistic as he used to be. He's kind of becoming more of a pessimist, but you catch him on the right day, and Thanksgiving was that day. So there's a link to his Giving Thanks episode in this list of show notes. There's a link to his Radical Capitalist episode 78, The Meaning of Christmas. And you will get Yaron Brook's slant on what we've been talking about today. I love Peter Schwartz's Christmas with Ayn Rand essay, Why Christmas Should Be More Commercial. Is it appropriate for an atheist to celebrate Christmas? The Guardian article I mentioned, Why Christmas is for Everyone. But besides all those links and more,
wow.
As Amy and I have suggested, we are very modest. You know, we're very modest, but we have superior taste in music.
Yes, we do.
Because, we're old, so we've seen it all. And our taste in Christmas music, well, I have made a Christmas playlist of some of our favorites.
Yes.
Link is in the show notes. It will take you through all of these tracks, everything from Benny Goodman to June Christie to Louis Prima.
Yeah.
And Louis Armstrong.
And Django Reinhardt.
And Tommy Dorsey and the Andrews Sisters. They're not all that old, but most of them are. And, and right up to Vince Guaraldi, of course. And that YouTube playlist, you play it, it will play all of those songs for you. You won't have any reason to skip any of them. They're all outstanding.
And they are where?
And they are in the show notes.
Okay.
One link takes you to the whole playlist, but I'll also include the individual links so you can play around with that, have some fun with that.
Mm-hmm. And where are the show notes?
The show notes will be posted on Facebook immediately after the show, and a link to that post will be posted in Twitter. Wherever you're at, you'll be able to get to it.
Awesome.
And if you're not already my Facebook friend, is anybody not already my Facebook friend? Just go to facebook.com/Robert Nasir. Everything I post is public, so even if you're not my friend, you can see my stuff. Anybody looking to steal my identity, there you go. Yeah, we didn't really decorate the studio for Christmas, but we got the Christmas balloons there.
Yay, we got Santa. Santa's here.
Santa is in effect.
He is in the house.
He is happening. Santa is a happening guy. Finally, there's a few commercial recommendations for you. Of course, you already know to go to Clint Cordair Fine Art at cordair.com.
Yes.
We're going to send you to our favorite candle supplier, Aurum Naturals. There are famous people who use those candles. There are pictures even on the website. They were used in like the Home Alone commercials that Google just, the best candles in the world.
They are.
They are the same as the ones we used for our Unity service that we talked about last week.
Yes.
At our wedding reception.
Oh, vow renewal.
Vow renewal. Thank you. Yes. Same thing, And what I'm forgetting one of my commercial recommendations, and I don't see it in my paperwork
Well,
here.
while you're looking,
So that will be a surprise. No, just leave it. It'll be a surprise when you go to look at the show notes and you'll say, gee, I wonder what that third thing that he was going to mention was. Now you have a reason to go look at those show notes. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
Okay, so I just wanted to mention that not the Santa, but the actual real Santa.
The real Santa.
I spoke with him recently, and he actually told me that he had read Atlas Shrugged quite a long time ago.
I'm sure.
And he revisited it along with some of the essays from The Virtue of Selfishness and everything like that. And he just told me how amazed he was by Ayn Rand's ideas and thoughts, especially with regard to morality. And because we had talked before about what kind of, what are Santa's favorite virtues?
Okay.
And
what are Santa's favorite virtues?
Well, he let me know that, it's kind of a close tie for him between justice and productiveness. And
well, that would make sense because he does make sure that the good children receive
That's
the
right.
best presents.
He does. And, and
none of that egalitarianism there for Santa Claus.
And he and his elves, I got to tell you, puts Elon Musk or whoever else to shame, or any businessman out there to shame. Santa is really the most efficient businessman the world has ever seen, ever will see. And so anyway, he was telling me about this, and, and I really agreed with him. And, the one really amazing observation that Santa made to me was that he's really enjoying all of the people who ascribe to Ayn Rand's ideas out there, who support Ayn Rand Center UK, who support other objectivist organizations, who have their own organizations like the Great Lakes Objectivists. And he's finding, a lot of these, objectivist types, these, nerdy intellectual types to be actually really quite good, not just for goodness sake, but for their own sake. And, in recent years, he's really come to that conclusion that living for your self-interest is really the best approach to morality. And he even told me that, if objectivism keeps spreading, that it's going to be really, a little bit more difficult for him. He's going to have to kind of like,
as everybody gets more virtuous, he's going to have to deliver more presents.
Yeah, he's going to have to kind of go back to his business model and reconsider it and kind of redesign it. So if anybody has any ideas for Santa about how to increase his productivity, because there are so many virtuous people out there in the world, they're growing. There's so many people who are going to, Ayn Rand Campus app, that this was created by the Ayn Rand Institute. People in like our friend who just gave us $5 in Peruvian currency. Greetings from Lima, Peru. Emiliano says.
Oh, Emiliano from Lima.
Yes, from Lima. And he says, here in South America, Christmas comes with sun, sand, and ice cream, although we still drink hot chocolate. That's awesome.
Now I'm filled with that vice of envy.
No. Santa knows better, Robert. He thinks that you're quite good. So, so as Ayn Rand's virtues and her approach to morality and her rejection and I should say, dare I say, how she shed light on what altruism really is, and her approach to morality. I mean, Santa's gonna have a heck of a time, but he's really happy about it. He told me. So I just wanted to pass along to everybody, keep being virtuous, and Santa will be there for you. And so Merry Christmas.
Outstanding. Well, while you were sharing that inside information, I have posted the links in the episode on my recent Facebook post, and I just shared the playlist as well. We will add those commercial notifications as well. And I remember what the third suggestion I had. Above and beyond Quent Court Air Fine Art, and above and beyond Aurum Naturals, the world's best beeswax candles, I did put a link into the World Encyclopedia of Christmas. We may talk about that more next week, because Amy's favorite Christmas book is an Encyclopedia of Christmas.
Yes, I love it.
It sounds like maybe that's not something you'd be into if you're not that much into researching Christmas, but this really is the best book on Christmas.
Now, it's out of print currently, but you can find it on Amazon in
hardcover
or soft cover.
Well, not only that, but it's now available electronically.
Oh, that's right.
So you can get it on Kindle.
Yeah, the World Encyclopedia of Christmas by Jerry Bowler. He's a gentleman from England.
Link is in the show notes. The Christmas music playlist is posted.
Yay!
Which we will certainly be listening to shortly. And the reason why I say shortly, the reason why I say momentarily is we're going to wrap, because, as I mentioned online, Amy and I are going to a Christmas event where we will have to practice what we preach. We're going to have to put the goodwill out there. We're going to have to say hello to friends we know and everyone we meet. And that is what I'm wishing for you. Now, we're not done with Christmas. I got more to say about Christmas. That will have to come next week or maybe the week after that. But I wanted to get it started. It's about time we got this Christmas party started here on the Ayn Rand Center UK. If you want to give the Ayn Rand Center UK a Christmas present, you know what to do. AynRandCenter.co.uk/membership. Link will be in the chat in just a moment. If you're not already a member, sign up. Otherwise, just keep those super chats up. This was great. I'm enjoying all of the chat, but especially the super chat, because I never miss those as I'm scrolling through here, trying to keep up with everybody. Thank you for joining us. This has been another episode of Life on Earth. We're going to go celebrate Christmas. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your chat. And I am just going to do this is going to be our new thing. And you're going to be like, why is he playing music? And this is how I'm going to end the show. Rucka has a shtick, for example. He always says, and and stretches it out a bit, and goodbye. And that's how he ends his show. I think we're going to end ours with music because I can. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Santa Claus. I know you're up there at the North Pole getting it done. And we will talk to you on Sunday, next Thursday on the Ayn Rand Center UK. Whoa, Christmas music. All right. That's it.